Hi, and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Kibin Alleyne, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, we speak with a fashion model slash fashion director to learn more about her journey as the first little person to walk New York Fashion Week with the support of Good Shepherd Services. Then the head of brand and marketing for YUZU Match Group tells us more about a new concept that encourages young women to prioritize healthy platonic friendships. After that, the supervisor for JCCA's Westchester Day Treatment speaks on how her organization provides high-quality mental and behavioral health education and child welfare services for children and families across New York. And finally, the vice president of programs for NEW talks more on how they prepare, train, and place women in careers for trade jobs. So stay tuned. All this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hello everyone, I'm Kibin Alleyne and today is Tuesday, August 20th. You are now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. Glory Quiñonez is a trailblazing runway model who made history in 2015 as the first little person to walk New York Fashion Week. From her roots in Harlem and time with Good Shepherd Services to her groundbreaking fashion career, Glory's story is one of resilience and inspiration. She now joins us to discuss her journey. Glory, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more about what sparked your interest in modeling and fashion? And then furthermore, if you ever had any, doubts, and how did you overcome those doubts due to the lack of representation?
Yes, so I always had a thing for clothes, love clothes, and I started fashion in high school. I noticed I had swag by the popularity I had in school, and all the kids wanted to be my friend because of the sneakers and clothes that I had on. So I noticed I had a thing for fashion, and from there, I was trying to figure out how to get in the fashion industry. I just didn't know how to go about it. And Trish Morris from the Courageous Faces Foundation, she messaged me on Facebook and asked me to walk for her for New York Fashion Week as one of her faces. And that's how I got into New York Fashion Week and began the runway walk.
That's amazing. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about that journey. Just overall, what was it like to be the first little person to walk the runway at New York Fashion Week, which New York Fashion Week is huge?
It was an experience, to be honest with you. It was fun, a little nervous, because you don't see people like me walking the runway, and it was very captivating for a lot of people. People took pictures, and they were excited to see someone with a disability to walk the runway and making history as the first Hispanic to walk the runway for New Year Fashion Week.
That's amazing. Now, how did that moment impact you personally, and then we can talk about how it impacted you professionally?
Personally, it boosted my self-esteem. It gave me confidence. It showed me that I could do anything, and anything that I put my mind to, I can overcome. It.
And then, on the professional matter, how did that, kind of impact you and your goals moving forward?
To go after your dreams, because you never know who's watching you. You never know who is gonna support you or sponsor you. So just go after your dreams. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it. I had that before, and I never let that stop me. I just kept going.
That's amazing, and I would love to kind of talk about that because I think that a lot of people, when we come from backgrounds that we don't often see on screen or on the runway, there may be people who will tell us like, oh, it's just a dream, or like, wow, I can't see you doing that. But how did you overcome that, and how did you try to look within to kind of push forward?
As a child, I had a lot of people tell me that I wasn't going to be anything, and I just kept pursuing what I wanted to do. I let that push me to follow my dreams, and I just kept going. I didn't care what anybody had to say. I didn't care if people making fun of me or taking pictures of me. I just like, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go for it. And I know it's going to impact the world in a positive way that people like me will be able to walk the runway as well.
Now, I would love to talk a little bit more about your relationship with Good Shepherd Services. Can you tell us, how, just having their support was, and how are they supporting you along this journey?
Yes, they have been a good asset to me in my life. They have helped me with my books when I went to college, and I'm the first one to graduate college.
Oh,
So they have supported me through my college years. They're also supporting me now, getting ready to go to Paris by paying for my travel fees. And they're helping me, and they're preparing me for what's ahead of me.
That's amazing. Now, can you tell me a little bit, you said that you're going to Paris. Is this for Paris Fashion Week?
Yes, Paris Fashion
That's
Week.
amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about, how that all came about for you, and, that journey that you're expecting to have?
Yes. So I just did some castings for Paris Fashion Week because many of my friends was like, "You should do Paris. You should do Paris. You'd be the first one in Paris." So I said, "Okay, let me go for it." And I did some casting. I'm just waiting for the call back, but I got approved for one of the shows to go to Paris to do London Fashion Week for Paris Fashion Week. So I'm excited.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's so amazing to see somebody kind of do big things in New York, but then to do it globally, that is really amazing. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Now, can you tell me, because of this experience, I understand that you have a desire to give back to your community. So can you just tell us, a little bit more about that desire?
Yes, I started a workshop called Women Empowerment to help young ladies to have high self-esteem, those who struggle with domestic violence, those who come from foster homes and shelters, to help their self-esteem and see their self-worth, to love themselves. So I started that with Good Shepherds. They allowed me to do that. I was happy that they allowed me to do that. So there's other things like giving back to the community by doing back to school drives and opening and doing other programs for young men to get out the streets and let them know that, hey, there's more out here than, doing things that you shouldn't be doing in the streets.
Now, how do you plan to incorporate your personal experiences into designing a clothing line for little people and those with disabilities?
Yeah. By having high self-esteem, that if people with disabilities see me, or people with average size see me walking the runway and having my own clothing brand, it's an empowerment movement that they will feel empowered. When they wear my clothes or my designs, they will feel empowered and say, hey, I feel good. This is somebody that, made history or is fighting for us, advocating for us. Why not wear her clothes?
Now, how has your journey influenced your views on representation and inclusivity in the fashion industry?
In a positive way. Because before I was scared, because there was a lot of discrimination, and I've dealt with discrimination in the fashion industry with one designer that told me you had to be tall, and I didn't let that stop me. I just kept going. So me doing that hopefully is a positive influence for the people that are watching and are walking behind me. Because now little people are walking the runway now. And I'm there's someone that made history from Miami Swim Week, and I was happy for her. So me seeing that, I was like, wow, look at the influence that I have done through the years, and I'm proud. I'm proud.
That's amazing. Now, speaking about representation in the industry, especially the fashion and runway industry, it's a long battle for so many people of so many different walks of life. What do you hope to see change in the industry? And then furthermore, how can we hold designers accountable when they do partake in, things like discrimination?
Yes. So when holding designers accountable, I would say it starts with us to get out there, because some don't know that there's little people or people with disability, but I would say us, like myself, getting out there, they're getting familiar. Okay, let's make clothes for little people. Let's make clothes for people in a wheelchair. Let's make clothes for anybody that's with disability. I would say that.
Now, what specific aspects of the support from Good Shepherd Services had the most profound impact on your career and your personal development?
I would say allowing me to do these workshops to help young people and see their lives change, and that has been a positive impact in my life.
Now, Now, can you just tell us a little bit more about what, made you decide to continue this experience? Because I know you mentioned like in the beginning was a little bit hard, and I know for a lot of people, even if they do try, sometimes it's just a little bit too much. So, what are some of the aspects that, is it friends, family, like what do you use to kind of help you stay motivated to continue going?
My friends and my family and my dad. My dad is my biggest fan. He's always, you better do it, you better go for it. He's always positive. He's my #1 supporter. And I would say God as well, because God, to me, God has opened many doors for me.
And what advice would you give to somebody who is struggling? I think that in society we are in a place where we're trying to be more accepting and, thinking more positively about different body types. What advice would you give to somebody who may be struggling with that journey to self-love?
I would say first, be yourself. 2, love yourself. 3, don't worry about what nobody say about you, and just go for it. Follow your dream. And if you need any advice, just contact me, and I will guide you and help you.
That's amazing. And, I'm curious to know what has, the response been like from people who have seen you. Have you had people reach out to you and say, I saw you, that was really beautiful. What was that experience like from people watching?
I have many messages from little people with disability. Even average people say, I was so proud of you. You're changing the world. My aunt, she sent me a message and she was crying, but she was just so proud because she know what I've been through. A lot of people are happy for me and they want me to be successful, and they just want me to keep going and make changes and break the barriers for people like me.
That's amazing. And with that being said, what do you hope, what are your goals for your career in the fashion industry? Like what do you plan to kind of take on next?
Hopefully to give people like me opportunities and all types of disability opportunities, and work with big name brands. And hopefully from there we'll take off.
And then, looking ahead, what are your goals for your clothing line? Do you have any ideas of what you want it to look like? You don't have to give everything away, of course, but, what do you have in mind? Like, what is the style that you want people to know you for?
Fun, comfortable, a little sexy, and confidence.
That's amazing. And then, also with that being said, I think we're talking about your experience, which is important. But I also think that allyship is also important. And in order for people to kind of make strides, you need a community and a support system. So, what would you say would make somebody a great ally, even if they haven't experienced what you experienced? What does it take to fully support somebody in your shoes?
I would say have a good support system, family, like your family, your friends. There are other little people that supports other little people when they see you doing great things, like myself. They're always supporting us, like, Glory, we're there for you. And I would say have, your friends and your family and a good community that supports you and they see your vision.
Now, with that being said, I understand very quickly that you also may direct your own fashion show. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so hopefully by next year, I will direct my first fashion show, and we'll have people with all types of disabilities, and even average models come down, and I'll be the first one to direct the fashion show.
That's amazing. And where can people go to learn more about that, or any updates?
They can follow me at Instagram at Glory Quiñonez or Facebook Glory Quiñonez, and I will keep people updated from there.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Thank you so much.
To follow along with Glory's journey, please follow her on social media at Glory Mia Moore. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
What's up, creative family? Discover your voice with BronxNet community media classes. Are you ready to bring your ideas to life? At BronxNet, we offer television production classes for community members ages 18 and over, empowering you to share your vision with the world. Get certified in field production, in-studio production, and our new exciting addition, podcast production. Once certified, you can create your own show to air on one of our 6 TV channels. It all starts with our free Unleash Your Ideas Masterclass, designed to help you plan your show idea and set you up for success on your production journey. This class is offered at the beginning of each month for your convenience. Our dedicated BronxNet team is here to support, encourage, and uplift you every step of the way. Join us and become a part of the creative force that engages and inspires the Bronx community and beyond. Sign up today and start your media journey with BronxNet. Visit bronxnet.org/education to learn more and register. Let's create something amazing together.
Welcome back. Boy Sober is a new social and dating app that encourages young women to prioritize healthy platonic friendships. Popularized by Brooklyn-based comedian Hope Woodard, Boy Sober is a rebranded form of celibacy that encourages individuals to take a break from romantic relationships, to unlearn toxic dating habits, and focus on personal growth. The head of brand and marketing for YUZU, Cindy Lim, joins me to discuss. Cindy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, this was the first time I've ever heard something like this, and it is very intriguing. Can you tell me, a little bit more about the concept, or the beginning of the concept of Boy Sober? How did that whole journey begin?
Yeah, I mean, it was coined by Hope Woodward, who's a Brooklyn-based comedian and storyteller, and she really wanted to detox from dating habits and perhaps toxic relationships that she may have been a part of. And Gen Z really, in Gen Z language, ate that up. Gen Z really does align well with what she's really going for, focusing on self-discovery and distancing herself from potentially toxic relationships. And Boy Sober itself does have a connotation that carries baggage, like what's the opposite of boy sober? It's boy drunk. It's not really, it means that sometimes boys or male relationships can become a toxic cycle of females or males seeking validation from their partners. And it's really just about taking a step back and discovering yourself and your own passions.
Now, you talked about Gen Z. With that being said, why do you think the concept is resonating so much with this generation of young people?
Yeah, I think it's because honestly, Gen Z has so much access to social media, whether it's through dating apps, social networking apps, of course, just IRL stuff too. And with all of that exposure comes a lot of new connections, and with more connections increases the possibility of more toxic connections as well. So I think that's the reason why Gen Z is really hyper-focused on protecting their mental health and having their space and distancing themselves from anything that could potentially cause toxic habits for them.
Now, in what ways does Boy Sober address the challenges posed by superficial connections and toxic dating habits? So I know in the beginning I said it is still kind of like a social app. And I guess if a deeper relationship comes from that, that could always be a good thing. But how does it also address, kind of stepping away from toxicity that we see in most relationships, and especially in dating apps?
Yeah, I think, YUZU is a social and dating app. So we not only have the features that regular dating apps have, such as, finding your partner nearby, but we also have social features that includes finding friends, so friend discovery, as well as finding communities. So in a way, we really like to be that one and all platform, a social playground where people can come. If they want to seek a relationship, they can seek a relationship in the dating mode. But if they want to be boy sober, and if they want to just belong to a community and maybe find a community that aligns with their interests, because we do have interests that range from anime to K-pop to EDM to whatever, or DIY crafting, travel, so whatever your interest is, finding that community that you can really belong with and cultivate non-romantic relationships with is something that YUZU really helps with.
Now, I think this is really important for all generations really, because it's a societal thing, but how can people just navigate societal pressure, in regards to jumping into serious or casual relationships? I know everyone feels that pressure, whether they're in high school or whether they're turning 50 next year, that they have to have a boyfriend or a serious relationship.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's a lot of self discovery and self security. I think a lot of the times we get affected by what our society standards are. For example, I have friends who are already getting married or having kids, and sometimes, I'm single and I'm like, wow, where's my husband or where are my kids? I do dream of that life too, but I think it's really important to know that everyone is on earth for a different purpose and to really be centered in why you're here, setting your intentions straight. And I really think that's where being boy sober also really helps, because it gives you that space to step away from any romantic entanglements or perhaps toxic energy that you could feel from your significant other, to really focus on what you actually really enjoy doing, what you like eating, what you like exercising, and how you want to spend your time that away from any romantic relationships.
Now, how does the app actually help with personal growth? So, I know that sometimes certain apps will have prompts, or, they will kind of spark certain discussions among people. How does this app kind of work towards helping people, kind of achieve that personal growth?
For sure. I think, the app in itself, how it's built, definitely does encourage that friend and community aspect. But furthermore, we really do try to create a comforting space for people to have casual conversations where we have prompts focused on, maybe their music tastes, maybe their food taste, maybe their personality trait. So something that really portrays who they are as people, as well as our community feature, which has community groups focused on, honestly, like so many different hobbies and interests. You'll probably find something for you there. And when I go on, there are at least 20, 30 people just chatting away, and you can just pop right in and be like, hey, I'm this person from here. I love this brand for fashion, and this is who I am, and people will just be so open. And we also do have moderators who do continuously stay active to make sure that the conversations are engaging, as well as we have a 24/7 support team that does moderate for any hateful or harassment languages.
That's amazing, and I'm so glad to hear that, because that when you're building community, you don't want people
Yeah.
who could kind of like deter or derail things. So I think that's pretty cool. With that being said, I also want to talk about just the importance of having platonic relationships, because although I do think in this generation we are in a better place where you don't feel the same exact pressure to get married by 21 or 25 that maybe older generations had. I do think it's important to talk about why we should try to center platonic relationships. Is that something that the app kind of explores or kind of teaches people about?
For sure. I mean, we recently ran a survey with our app users, and 81% of the respondents responded that they value friendships over romantic relationships, which really speaks for kind of, I guess, the purpose of our app, which is a social first dating app as well. And I think that platonic relationships and friendships are the core of really self-discovery and making you a better person without having expectations from a romantic angle. Like I feel like when I'm in a relationship, obviously that person who is hopefully my soulmate will be able to complement who I am perfectly. But because I want to also impress that person and I want to look good, I will probably try to center myself in a way that is more attractive to them. Whereas I feel like in platonic friendships, it's really about being completely who I am and finding that person who vibes with my whole self. And that's why just having platonic relationships with multiple different friends will be able to improve your self-discovery and your self-image and self-respect.
Now, I know that for kind of most of it, we're centering it as like young women, but who do you think the ideal audience is, or could this be something that's for everyone?
The voiceover?
Yeah.
I think so, honestly. You know, my mom, she's married to my dad still, but I do think that she has her voiceover moments, and it's really healthy for her. She, she says she doesn't want him talking to her all the time because she needs her space to watch her TV and eat her own snacks and hang out with her own friends. And I think distancing yourself from a romantic relationship, whether it's a boy or a girl, is healthy for you because you do need that own time uh, to step away from any sort of physical attraction that may be in the air to be able to think and reflect.
I think that's
Right.
great. And I love that you mentioned that, your mom, who is in a relationship is, kind of likes it. Because I think that we often think, oh, this is for singles or people who are single. But people who are in relationship could also benefit from decentering their partner, within their life. So I thought that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I'm the type when I'm in a relationship, I'm honestly like wanting to be 24/7 with that person. So it's much easier said than done. But I do encourage people in relationships to also seek time for themselves because it's just going to help them grow even more.
Now, what are some things that people, I know this is a great app, what are some things people can do in real life to kind of adopt a boy sober life?
Yeah, so YUZU actually does do a lot of community events. I just came back from LA actually yesterday, and honestly, just joining a lot of events that's focused on community building. So we recently had a fitness event where we hosted a boxing workout class with all female crowd, and it was just really about using your core and your energy to release that adrenaline that you may have built up. And the crew that came all are remaining as friends, and it was great. Another event that we recently did is we had a board game social. So we had a bunch of different board games from Uno to We're Not Really Strangers to a lot of Asian games as well because we are a app designed for the Asian community. And people just it would be like a bit long table and people just come and join and you're suddenly playing We're Not Really Strangers and learning all these things about each other. And honestly, it's just like it's so refreshing to be able to step out of the community that you're usually part of and to connect with people with such different backgrounds, such different energies. And I really think that immersing yourself into IRL events that are focused on community activities and friendship building activities is a good way to embrace voiceover.
That's amazing. Now, very quickly, because we have about a minute left, what do you hope to see for the future of voiceover?
I hope to see, honestly, I think that there's a lot of different definitions going around boy sober. Some people are like, is boy sober abstinence? Is it celibacy? I think it's whatever you choose it to be. But for me personally, I don't think it is neither. I don't think it is those things. I think boy sober is purely a mental concept where, you really try to distance yourself and set your intentions right for self-discovery and self-awareness and self-improvement versus abstinence and celibacy has more to do with religion and sexual restraints.
Okay, well, Cindy, I want to thank you so much for joining us. This was really interesting because, as I mentioned, this was like the first time I'm kind of hearing about a movement like this, and I'm definitely on board. I think it's amazing. I think more people should know about this. So, once again, thank you so much for joining us and kind of talking about this community.
Thank you.
If you want to know more about Boy Sober, please download the YUZU app either on the Apple or Google Play Store. Stay tuned. We have more for you right after this. welcome back. A recent CDC survey indicates that mental health among teen girls show signs of improvement with a 6% decrease in persistent sadness since the pandemic. While these numbers reflect progress, healthcare professionals highlight that persistent sadness remains alarmingly high. To explore the steps needed to further improve mental health for teen girls, I'm joined by Andrea Cimino, Supervisor at JCCA's Westchester Day Treatment. Drea, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, of course. Thank you for having me.
Now, can you tell me a little bit more about JCCA and, your overall work that you do at this organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So JCCA is one of the oldest New York child welfare organizations. They've actually been around for just over 200 years, which is really incredible. The specific program that I work at is the Westchester Day Treatment Program. We are located in Hawthorne, New York, but we do not only provide services to clients in Westchester, we provide services to students from all over downstate New York, from the 5 boroughs to Westchester, Dutchess, Putnam, Orange, all around. We provide individual therapy, group therapy, family therapy, and medication management for students ages 5 to 21.
Now, what were your thoughts when you probably saw the survey by the CDC that showed there was a 6% decrease in persistent sadness among teen girls?
Yeah, so I had a couple of thoughts on that. Unfortunately, my first thought was I wonder about the data and how much is being reported, or rather underreported, because this isn't, masking is definitely a real thing, and depression isn't always something that people feel comfortable talking about. On the other hand, on the flip side, I also feel that there's been a greater increase of mental health awareness, especially following the pandemic. So I'm also wondering if that increase and awareness and discussion has led to this potential decrease. So I'm really hoping that that is the case.
Same here. And I also, during the pandemic, I spoke to a lot of healthcare professionals, and people said that kind of being indoors for that long period of time can, lead to people feeling this sense of persistent sadness. And I wondered, kind of like yourself, now that people are out again and we have our support systems that may not only be confined to, our household, if that could have also contributed. So I thought that was really interesting, and I'm really excited to kind of explore a little bit more on what we can do to help teen girls and mental health. Now, with that being said, although this does look like we're making some progress, although it went down a little bit, the rates are still very high, which is alarming. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the challenges that teen girls continue to face?
Yeah, absolutely. As the challenges evolve, teen girls also evolve. And I think social media has such a big part to play. It's ever moving, always constant, always present in our lives. And I think, comparison can be the theft of joy, and it's so easy to compare to what we're seeing on the screen without realizing that these are snippets of people's lives. Not only that, they can also be highly edited. So what we're seeing may not be what is real, but as a teenager, you may not be able to know that just yet. And it can be so easy to experience your own insecurities when looking at a picture perfect version of what you want to be.
Now, as you mentioned, teen girls evolve. So how does the organization kind of adapt to the changing needs of, our young people today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact that JCCA is 200 years old reflects that we have had to evolve. We wouldn't be around this long if we didn't. So I think, we've opened a lot of programs. We actually just opened a Youth Act program in the Bronx. So we're providing services in different areas throughout New York. And I think that expansion and allowing teen girls to have access to services is definitely a big key piece in this.
Now, something I definitely want to mention is, and I feel like you're kind of touching on it a little bit, is that girls from different socioeconomic backgrounds are going to have different experiences with, anxiety, depression, and all these other mental health challenges. Can you, talk a little bit more about what you've seen in regards to how this affects girls from different backgrounds?
Absolutely. Yeah, socioeconomic status is something that maybe consciously teenage girls aren't thinking about, but it is something that affects them. If you are from a higher socioeconomic status, then you have the privilege of not having to worry about where your next meal is coming from, not having to worry about if your parents are paying the bills. Whereas if you are from a lower socioeconomic status, you may be hearing these conversations constantly between your parents, your guardians. Also, you may need to support with childcare or yourself getting a job, figuring out where your next meal is going to come from. It's a number of factors that while we don't necessarily think about day to day, there are certain people who have to think about it day to day. And of course, it's going to impact their overall health.
Now, how does the JCCA support teenage girls who may be struggling with mental health issues but lack the adequate resources to kind of address them?
Yeah, so JCCA can support by providing clients with access to these resources. With the day treatment program, for example, clients don't need to go out after school, set their own therapy appointment, transport to that appointment. Everything is done right in school. So if they feel like missing art for one day, or if they're like, you know what, I really don't want to go to gym today, I'm going to therapy at this time instead. It removes the barrier of transportation, makes it more accessible. We're right in the school building. Other JCCA services will come right to your home. So transportation is not even a factor in that.
Now, with that being said, talking about school, so many children, of course, are in school. What responsibility do you think these institutions have to kind of just address mental health that, are facing their students? Because there's so many things happening, especially in lower income neighborhoods where these schools have to kind of focus on, making sure these students are kind of set up or, prepared for college and that next step in their education. What responsibility do you think they may have in regard to mental health?
Yeah, I think that is such a good question. I think with schools specifically, the focus needs to be on allowing all students to access mental health services, not just highlighting this student may have depression, but rather destigmatizing it, making it a fully normal experience, encouraging everyone to go to therapy. Because you may have some students who feel discouraged because they don't want a stigma of having to go to therapy. Likewise, you may have some students who the teachers or staff would never know are experiencing mental health because they're high functioning. So I think normalizing it and giving everyone that access is going to be the way to go here for sure.
And then with that being said, I'm curious, do you think this should also be like maybe a lesson in health class? Like, should there be classes regarding mental health?
Oh, absolutely. Mental health is definitely health. And, the brain is an organ just as much as the heart, the stomach, the liver. It is absolutely a factor that affects our daily life.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was like, thinking back, I'm like, I don't know if I, had this in my health classes. Like, I don't think we ever talked about mental health at all.
No. Even just thinking back in past decades, even as a millennial, you see the difference now in today's day and age, for sure. It's much more talked about, and I hope it continues to be that way.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more about the role you believe community resources and, just overall support networks play in addressing mental health issues among teenage girls? So maybe outside of the school, but, just different organizations within the area.
Yeah, absolutely. Within community resources, right? Not only could teenage girls maybe access, if they access different community resources, they may also connect to other teenage girls that have experienced similar struggles. It can be quite validating. You're not alone. And look, other people are going through this. These people are coming here for support. It's helping them. Maybe it can help me. So really expanding their connections as well, and also highlighting that they are not alone. They're not the only ones that are going through this. I think community resources have such an important role in this factor.
Now, I want to take a moment to also highlight members of the LGBTQ plus community. I understand that there are higher rates of persistent sadness within this community.
Yes.
How is JCCA addressing the unique needs of LGBTQ plus teens?
Yeah, so with JCCA, I am actually the co-chair of the JCCA Pride Committee. So we focus on providing special support for LGBTQIA individuals. We recently did a huge Pride parade on the main campus. And additionally, we also connect our students with different resources, some near the residential, some in the community and the city, but different locations where they can receive services. Because of course, when you are an LGBTQIA individual, you do have additional stressors, additional factors. A heterosexual cis student may not worry about having a roof over their head if they're in a quote unquote normal family. But as an LGBTQ person, you always have to worry about, is my family going to accept me? If they don't accept me, what could happen? Could my peers out me? What happens if school doesn't accept me? There's a whole bunch of questions that enter the picture, enter the chat, so to speak, compared to their straight counterparts.
Now, looking forward, what are some areas where you think more research or resources are needed to further improve mental health outcomes for teen girls?
Yeah, so I believe that focusing on trauma, specifically in teen girls, is going to be the way to go here. Depression is not one size fits all, and a lot of times these feelings of persistent sadness can actually be trauma symptoms. A lot of the behaviors that we're seeing in teenage girls could stem from trauma. And, I was just reading a survey from the National Institute of Health. They actually said that adolescent girls have an 8% chance of having PTSD compared to adolescent boys who only have a 2.3% chance. So, addressing trauma in these young girls is really going to be, I think, where the research needs to focus in order to improve quality of life and reduce symptoms.
And just moving forward, talking about stigma, I know that we are moving forward as a society, but in certain communities, especially in communities of color, maybe people still struggle with the idea or coming to terms with just mental health in general. What do you think we can do as a society to kind of combat that?
Yeah, again, just normalizing. I think just talking about it, saying that it's something that everyone could benefit from. You don't just need a therapist because you are dealing with XYZ, or it's not only a certain type of people that could benefit from therapy, but rather making it an accessible platform to all, and that everyone can benefit just from being able to talk about their feelings or to gain coping skills to help manage frustrations of life.
Now, we talked a lot about the teen girls, but I'm curious, do
Yeah.
you have any advice for parents who may, want to be an ally or want to support their kids, but not really sure how to do so?
Yeah, I think that's such a good question. And I think ultimately just having an open conversation, being able to sit and listen to your teen without any judgment and without any thoughts of reflecting on yourself, on your own parenting. Because, if your kid is experiencing depression, that doesn't mean you're a bad parent at all. That just means your kid is a person who has mental health. We all have mental health. So I think just allowing those conversations to happen without any judgment is really going to be key.
That's amazing. And I'm so glad that we were able to have this conversation because it's something that I'm learning more about. And I think we all have a role to protect, the youth in our communities. So I think that's amazing. Very quickly, can you just let our viewers know how they can learn more about JCCA and all the resources that your organization provides?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is jccany.org. Our socials are jccany. You can find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, on X. And I would encourage people, if you have any questions about mental health, go to our website, reach out, see what services can be provided, see how we can connect you with services, because I truly think everyone can benefit from therapy, and I'd love to support anyone who's interested in taking that next step.
Well, Drea, I want to thank you so much for joining us and really having this really meaningful discussion.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
To learn more about the work this organization does and to get more information on their services, please visit their website at jccany.org. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
Hey, creative family. My name is Timothy Coleman, and I'm the Director of Education here at BronxNet. And I'm standing in BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx, because I want to let you know about an amazing program that we're bringing back that highlights the creativity of community members just like you. Emerging Media Makers is a show that introduces you to BronxNet's certified producers. They've taken a step in their creative journey by enrolling in BronxNet's media training classes. On this show, you'll get to see the many ways that our certified producers have created a space that's all their own. Emerging Media Makers, your passion lives here.
Welcome back. The organization Non-Traditional Employment for Women, referred to as NEW, empowers and equips women with fulfilling careers in skilled construction, utility, and maintenance trades. This initiative enables women to achieve economic independence and build a secure future for themselves and their families. Vice President of Programs, Katrice Thomas, joins me to discuss. Katrice, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I gave a little bit away, but can you tell us a little bit more about NEW NYC?
Sure. So, as you said, NEW has been in existence since 1978, and we are primarily focused on serving women, non-binary, and trans individuals with pre-apprenticeships for entry into the construction trades in New York City. So we do the pre-apprenticeship training, and that leads into employment in the career in trades.
Now, why was it important to, I'm assuming that initially started out as, finding employment for women, but it, was expanded to people who are non-binary. Why was it important to specifically focus on these genders?
So I think most people know that careers in the trades are typically a male-dominated field. And what we want to do is just shed some light on the fact that women are interested and can compete for these careers. And honestly, careers in the trades are the only opportunity that a lot of women have to, within 5 years or less, with only a high school diploma or GED, be able to earn up to $100,000. So it really is important that women, in some cases that are heads of the households, have these opportunities as well.
Now, as you mentioned, trade careers are usually in male-dominated spaces. What are some of the challenges people who don't identify as male face in this regard?
I think the list is long. I think we can start off with childcare being one of them. So as the primary caregivers, oftentimes you have women who are trying to go back out into careers and finding it challenging to not only find childcare that they're comfortable with, but also when you talk about the skilled trades, find childcare that is open very early in the morning, very late at night, and the in-between and after care is also challenging.
Now, as mentioned, the organization has been around since 1978, which is a very long time. How has the company evolved to kind of meet the changing expectations of women?
So I think not only has the organization been around for a long time, but we sort of lived through a pandemic such as everyone else did, and it just made it even more challenging. But we are here, which just shows the resilience of women and the resilience of the organization. I think the way that it's evolved is in trying to be a better partner with the trades and some of the other organizations that are hiring women into these non-traditional employment opportunities. So making sure that we're actually understanding what their needs are, barring gender or race or anything else that we actually shouldn't be talking about. We want to make sure that the opportunity is there for people who are qualified and interested.
Now, what are some of the job opportunities available when we're talking about trade?
Sure. So the three most, I would say, sought after careers that people go into after they graduate from NEW are plumbers, carpenters, and electricians. And it is partially because that we focus a little bit more on those trades during our pre-apprenticeship program. However, we have women who are engineers, we have women who are pipe fitters, and so on. So there's no career that a woman is not able to go into, but we are trying to give women a little bit more exposure because you don't know what you don't know. So how do you know that you want to be the one to climb the tallest building and, fit the windows or be able to, install the electrical wiring if no one has ever exposed you to that?
Now, with that being said, what is your method when matching women to specific job areas that would be right for them?
It starts in the beginning. So you know how sometimes people say, like, there's these tests that you can do, like in high school, about career matching. So if you're good with your hands, then you should do, certain things. But I think it's even being more creative than that. So like if someone is good with their hands, some people don't think about construction if they're a woman. Maybe they think about like cooking or baking. So like if you think that you want to cook or bake, let's think about the components of that, right? You like to build. You actually like to see something that is nothing turn into something, and that actually is going into construction as well. You want to see a building constructed from the ground up. So it really is trying to spark some interest, figure out where the match is in terms of where people are passionate, and then bridge the gap between that and what kind of employment they want to go into.
Now, I really love that the organization kind of challenges the traditional ideas that we have on what's expected of women to kind of take on. You know, just in this journey, have you met anyone who maybe initially thought, oh, this isn't for me, you know, I don't know if I can do this, maybe it's a little bit intimidating, and how has that, maybe that student has grown or evolved, you know, their thinking in regard to like what they are able to do as a woman?
I would say most people that come to the organization are at some level of apprehension. We go out to career fairs and, you know, opportunities to engage with the community. And oftentimes we are the table that I can see far in the back, someone sort of looking at us, but not wanting to come over, right? So it's like, you know, wondering what's on that person's mind, and sometimes just like watching them and stalking them a little bit until they come over and like encouraging them to come. But oftentimes the conversation is, I've never done this before. I wasn't going to come over here because I've never done this before. And it's like, well, because we're a training, there's a lot of things you've never done before, right? Let's go through the list of things that you've never done before. Like, have you ever jumped out of a plane? Have you ever? And then they're like, no, no, no. Okay, well, would you do some of those things if you were in a comfortable space and you had someone that you trusted to walk you through that? And then, you know, they start to warm up, and then it's like, well, that's for men. And it's like, says who?
Right.
And then you see that it changes a little bit. And I tell some stories about, like, you know, we serve between 200 and 250 women a year, and they go through and they get jobs and like they're successful, and they come back and they'll talk to you in the class and they'll make sure that they are your biggest cheerleaders. And then you start to see people like, well, I'll go, but, and then you hear the conditions, right? I'll go, but it has to be like this time or that time, or I have to have childcare. And then I'm like, well, wait, the first step is that you actually come in and hear more about it. Don't listen to me, right? Like, listen to the staff, listen to the individuals who are doing the work. And actually, I want you to feel like it's a good fit for you. If it is, then everything else will fall into place, because we do have supportive services. So it's actually a really well-rounded program, so that if you're ready and you really want to do this, there's actually nothing in your way, because we try to eliminate a lot of those barriers.
And I'm curious to know what, how do you train, or what is the training process like?
So our trainings are 6 to 9 weeks. We have a daytime option, and then we have an evening and weekend option. They both encompass a combination of some hands-on skills, some theory and in-class work, and we make sure that all of the classes are provided with opportunities to either go out and tour real construction sites and or speak to prior graduates who are now in the trades to be able to tell their story, where we're not actually teaching in the class that specific trade.
Now, how could this opportunity be very impactful for women from low income or underserved communities?
It's everything. Like I said earlier, how else do you, with a high school diploma or GED, earn 6 figures and feel good about going home to your family and telling them as you're walking down the street, I built that. I was, you know, a part of that thing. I don't know anywhere else besides, you know, the unionized skilled trades. And it really is it makes a big impact on people's lives, because, you know, you look to the left and you look to the right and there's poverty everywhere, but you are able to sort of bring yourself up and out of that and your family as a result of some of these careers.
And how have you seen this effort make an impact on women specifically from the Bronx, you know, one of the boroughs that struggle the most of all the boroughs in NYC?
So I would say, based on data from last year, about a quarter of the people, a little bit less than a quarter of the individuals who express interest in our program come from the Bronx. So like you said, there's no lack of people, there's no lack of interest, but when you have people who are, you know, struggling with everything that you could imagine, what we want to just do is make sure that we have a safe environment, so that no matter where people are from, no matter what they've experienced, at least when they come in, they have an opportunity to be themselves and to excel.
Now, how do you use this initiative to further expand support to members of the LGBTQ plus community?
So we have received, we didn't used to track whether or not someone identified. And then what happened was that we started to notice, as you get to know people, you hear stories and you identify that, wait a minute, if we're actually saying that we're assisting people with elimination of barriers, then we have to really know who the person is. So through our supportive services department, we make sure that there are community resources, referral resources that we have, people have access to, and that also they can actually just be whoever it is that they want to be, because when you get onto the work site, everyone is who they showed up to be, but it's hard work. So no one is focusing on who you are or how you present. They are focusing on, do I feel safe enough around you to sort of hang off of the side of the building and risk my life, right? So it doesn't matter, but it matters to these individuals because around this individual are the external factors that are impacting their ability to be successful, and that's where we're able to come in and support. We've received generous funding from the city of New York to support this population, so it's one that is near and dear to our hearts, and we just want to make sure that whoever comes through is able to thrive.
Now, we've definitely moved away a little bit, as women from traditional ideas and gender roles. Do you think society is ready to see more women kind of take on these roles?
I mean, I am. I am. I feel like when it comes to people's abilities to support their family, it is really disappointing that we are still at a time where we're speaking about, like, okay, they may be the right person for the job, but they're Black, but they're a woman. And it just, I don't know what we need to do to get out of that, but we just need to move on. Like at this point, we need to make sure that whoever the right person is, and as long as they're qualified, that they get the same opportunities as anyone else would.
And what impact could this have on younger generation of, girls and people that are non-binary and, from different genders?
So statistics will show that the sooner you reach out to someone and start to plant the seeds of careers and exploration, the more likely they are to go outside of what is quote unquote normal. So we partner with the Department of Education and other nonprofit organizations that are working with girls and young women to do just that. And it actually, our mission is to serve women. However, if someone comes through our program and learns something and then decides that they don't want to go into the trades, it's still a success because you still know something that you didn't know before, and you can rule this out. You can't rule out something that you've never actually tried.
Well, Katrice, I want to thank you so much for joining us and
Thank
really
you.
having this this conversation, because it definitely brought new things to my mind. So once again, thank you for joining us and sharing this with our
Thank you.
community. To learn more about the services this organization offers, please visit their website at new-nyc.org. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with Drea and Hemick on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and yours safety and wellness. See you next time.